Hello and welcome to E-mindrocks 2021, India's biggest and largest youth summit. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me today, one of India's foremost startup entrepreneurs, a name many of you might have heard, at least of the company Udaan, founded by Sujeet Kumar, ex of Flipkart, someone who has built the logistics e-commerce backbone along with other colleagues at Udaan, and he joins me today. Sujeet, wonderful that you are here with us, and great to be talking to you in this very nice conversation aimed at India's youth, your consumers, your customers, perhaps, Sujeet?
Thanks, Siddharth, and I'm glad you have invited me. Indirectly, definitely, all the customers are our customers, but mostly we serve all the retailers in this country who are millions in the numbers, and definitely we take supplies from millions of unbranded manufacturers and all.
Wonderful. So what I want to do is we want to keep it peppy and quick and fast, and I'm going to start and try and do a rapid fire session with you today on the time that we have. So the first question, why did you risk it and flip it from Flipkart to Udaan? How did that happen?
So I have seen the journey from 0 to 15. I thought the real commerce in the country, or Bharat ka e-commerce in India, to build with 94% of the country consumed through the retailer. That's why I have flipped my career there. That's the real impact.
Sujeet, when e-commerce started in India, I remember people in the family saying e-commerce, the E stands for expensive commerce. People said, it's easier to buy outside from a physical retailer who you know, who you have a relationship, dua salam karte hain unke saath. How did e-commerce really happen to you from a conceptual point of view?
I think the idea is exactly opposite. E-commerce is easy, cheap, and very convenient.
Okay. Easy commerce, not expensive commerce. That's a good one. So we are going to sort of jump back and forth. One of the questions that I really want to bring up right here and now is, why Udaan? Why not Makan? Why not Dukaan? Why not Pakwan? How did Udaan happen?
It gives the flight to the small businesses so they can grow in their life. That Udaan is very relevant for all of us. Individual as well as for the organizations, small, big, everyone. That's where it reflects Udaan.
Why did you target the small businessman, the small trader?
Like I said that the real India has been served by this small trader, 94%. So I have seen, so जैसे मैं छोटे शहर में था, I have grown up in a very small town. I have seen the relevance of kirana. वहाँ पे मॉल नहीं होता, आज भी नहीं है. So that's why small businesses, which is our real India.
Real India, that's a good one. I believe that our small towns.
We call it Bharat. And we call Udaan Bharat ka e-commerce.
Bharat ka e-commerce, and that is what is really the backbone of this great country. So you became an entrepreneur by choice or by default because you were in a company like Flipkart where you played a very important role and the entire genesis of that company was entrepreneurial. Is that where you got this desire to be entrepreneur, or was it prior when you were studying to be a civil engineer at IIT?
So not exactly, even in Flipkart. Prior to that also I was a founder of one KPO. So ऐसा नहीं है, Flipkart में जब when I have joined, it was not, I was the third person after Sachin became, right?
Wow. Okay.
So उस समय पहला funding भी नहीं हुआ था. So it was an entrepreneur journey in that themselves itself. It was there. It was not like I've decided to become entrepreneur. I was in my career always been an entrepreneur, and mostly I've enjoyed that, creating something, being a part of it, which impacts the larger than life kind of thing.
Why did you kind of forsake the pleasure of hearing a ping every month end in your bank account, salary aa gayi, and instead take on the responsibility of arranging salaries for whatever number of employees that you have had in your firms?
I never thought like that. Actually, I thought, who will give me a job? I come from, my language was not right. I like Delhi. when I have grown up and studied in Hindi, okay, so it was always कि अच्छा जिसको इंग्लिश आती है उसकी नौकरी ज्यादा अच्छी लगती है, तो वो चीज इतना घर कर दिया था कि यार नौकरी से ज्यादा तो अच्छा धंधा ही कर लो.
Okay, define dhanda as a serious question. Is it about making money? Is it about building something? Because the reason I ask you this is the difference when I started out in my career, for example, was because capital was not available, Sujeet. और ये एक serious question है, honestly. Today, capital is supposedly available more easily, but many more people are chasing for that startup capital. So define dhanda.
So in my mind, the dhanda for me is when you accelerated your learning in life, when you become more productive, and money happen. Am I right? Money is, I think there is just how you think about it. I think might be I can explain on hindsight, but always in my mind, when you do something impactful, money happens. That's what always my belief. But I think in the longevity, always aspire to be part of something creation, build something which can long for last. I think those things motivates a lot rather than money. That's how I think.
Okay, Sujeet, good point about motivation, and I'm going to take this point forward. You know, in my career, professional career, I've met many people who have made it big in industry, entrepreneurs who started small. Some people had, their father's bank balance helping them. Others had other kinds of blessings. But I can clearly sense you are someone who is self-made. So I ask you these following two questions. The first question, is entrepreneurship in our blood? The reason I ask this question is that in our childhood, we were told, you are meant for a job, you belong to a particular area, particular kind of caste or creed, and business is only for people from X part of the country. वो तो business family के हैं, तुम्हें कैसे business आएगी? Did you face that? और ये खून में है, or is it because of your education?
I'll call it because of our exposure, my exposure. Let's say. I think where I come from very small town in Bihar. Okay, where always I have seen my father. We come from a farmer's family.
Which town? Please name your town once so that we can all.
It's the Bhabua in Bihar. It's very near to Banaras.
Okay.
But in Bihar. My father was a lawyer, but we are a farmer's family. कि district में अच्छा lawyer भी होता है, but we have a land, we like proper farming.
Right.
So always it was aspiring to become a good service. When I have completed my engineering, people say that hey, now you will get the good job, and that was my dream too, by the way.
Yes, I mean you made it to IIT and it still is. To me, IIT is a bigger dream to aspire for than even the IAS, because IIT opens the entire world to you. The IAS only opens a few jobs in India to people who succeed and qualify.
So yeah, I think that's why I never planned anything, Siddharth. I simply came to Delhi with the aspiration I will learn, and it was a huge exposure.
Sujeet, when I got my job and perhaps the first paycheck, my office then was right next to the famous Taj in Mumbai, the hotel. And I went and had a coffee there, which was pretty expensive. And this was because my father had done something similar many, many decades ago. What did you do with your first money that you got, whether in salary form or whether your entrepreneurial money?
Sir, I think that's the difference. I haven't got mahina beet gaya, salary nahi mili thi.
That's a very important point, huh? When did you visit a 5-star for the first time in your life? And I ask you very seriously because founders and their lifestyles are also a focus these days.
If I remember, I think much after I got my funding, and then salary has been revised in Flipkart, and then proper funding, and I think somewhere in 2011-12, You can say that.
Okay, so many people, many youth, many young people, sometimes those who I interview for jobs, and they have very different expectations from the ones that we started with. A question that again I'm jumping in terms of contemporary. When you hire someone, and I'm not talking about your advice for budding entrepreneurs, but those who want to work in a company, because everybody cannot be a founder. They can have an entrepreneurial mindset even when they are in a job. What are the 2 or 3 specific qualities that you look for in a young engineer or anybody else who you are hiring and giving their first or second break?
I think it was very similar, because as a human behavior, you always look for a similar kind of person. I mean, an independent thinker, think to create something. I think those things always attract. Personally, for me, it attracts a lot. Challenging someone, giving somebody the space to create something, having lots of confidence in themselves rather than protective and having insecurity about, hey, don't take my credit. I think those people always especially attracts me a lot. Doesn't matter what the backgrounds and all. I think that's the one quality I see, who is highly confident and independent thinker.
So if you were giving 100 marks for hiring, would you give 50 to education and 50 to that confidence and mindset? How would you balance it?
I think education is just you can say the first time barrier kind of things where you cross. Education after some time doesn't help that much.
Suppose someone were to apply, and those who will watch this program, those who are watching it, and they came and told you, hey, listen, I tried a founding stint. I failed once, or I failed twice. Now I need a job. I have to take care of my family, of my parents, or pay off my debt. Would you hire such a person?
Yes, we hire a lot. I think because in that, failure taught you a lot and make you a person, is a well-rounded person. You understand your prioritization. So failure is very important, sir.
What is failure? Again, to the young people who are watching you.
Failure, people define in a different way, but I define commercial failure. It's not about that, hey, sometimes somebody is out of business because somebody hasn't supported financially, or they hasn't found the money at the right time, or might be had taken some wrong choice which was not commercially viable. But the investment and the efforts are same, and people understand what is commercial after that. Then they understand much better. The failure teaches them the more commercial aspect of it.
I once interviewed someone, and he spoke about the small business mindset, or mindset where there is not that much exposure, and because you largely as a company have a mission where you want to enable small businesses, small traders, what you told me at the very start, using technology. What is the small business mindset? And I ask you this, given that lack or access to capital becomes a key differentiator. Those who get capital can go from small to big. Those who don't may unfortunately remain small. So what is the mindset that operates? Because you deal with so many of them.
Sir, it's not never about, in like today's world, it's not about that capital. When the small mindset business, when you say that structurally, let's say tier 2, tier 3 city, when retailers small, right? And for them, the big is from, let's say, 100 square feet or 200 square feet shops should go to 500 or 1000 square feet. That's big. So in your mindset, how your business is relevant in that space. So let's say somebody who is opened the retail shop in Babua had thinking about, I will open a mall here. I don't think so. That's an intelligent decision. Because that ecosystem will not support that mall, probably. So if you are thinking, then you have to think the space also. Might be in Delhi or somewhere else. So there are lots of things you have to challenge yourself. So big business is also the phenomena of opportunity, where you are seeing those opportunities. And I think thinking is the biggest hurdle, sir, in the small mindset or big mindset. It's not about capital. I think my experience says that it's not about capital.
And how big a role does Kismat play?
Sir, like in internet era, I don't think so. Kismat is it was never, but I think in internet brings so much of transparency and the flatness and the you are visible, if you are talented, you wanted to do something, then I don't think so Kismet play any role, by the way.
In our childhood, and I'm sure you have also seen it, maybe, I don't know if your parents said it, but we have seen those stories, कि क्या टाटा बिरला की बात करते हो, कोई टाटा बिरला के बेटे थोड़ी हो, जाओ नौकरी करो, थोड़ा पढ़ाई करो, 10-15 हजार का पगार लग जाएगा. I come back to this, how easy or tough is it for youngsters today? Because you spoke about internet being a big leveler and providing opportunity to all without any discrimination, how easy or tough is it to become an entrepreneur today?
I think again I say that you need lots of support from your family, from your well-wishers, definitely. And first, most importantly, you have to take very clear thinking what you wanted to do. You cannot just say that, hey, somebody else has become entrepreneur, I also wanted to become entrepreneur. It should be original. You should feel from inside, and then you will figure it out.
Entrepreneurship cannot be taught. You have also told us about how you look at education versus experience. So if someone came to you at an airport, at a railway station, I don't know if people take your autographs, but I would suggest to people to take autographs of people like you rather than, many other people, because you are real inspirations for our country. What would you tell that person, entrepreneur कैसे बन सकते हो बेटा या बिटिया?
If somebody asks really, hey, how to become an entrepreneur, I think only one advice from my side. Even still, because I'm not saying that I have built a very successful business. Definitely, we are part of that journey. Still, we are in the part of that journey. But one thing is very important is ability to learn, ability to take feedback, original thinking. Idea has to be real also. And it cannot be small, big and all. I think when you start thinking, it might be that time small idea. But in that journey, you start thinking big. I'll give you an example. When we were selling books in Flipkart, we never thought we will sell a mobile phone or large appliances. No. Our largest imagination was when we are selling 10 books, hey, might be on 1,000 books we'll go for IPO. Look, today that book as a in their overall scheme of things, I don't think so book as a category figured even in top 1,000. Somebody said that I always thought like that. I don't think so.
That is true. Sujeet, now this one is for founders. I've also interviewed founders like yourself, met several people and interacted deeply. I want to ask you, I've noticed that there are 2-3 different types of founders. One founder is very deeply contemplative person who lets other people build things. He manages a small team. There is another style of person who gets into everything, wants to check every word, correct every mistake. And the third is very full of himself. He thinks he has arrived just because he's got his first round or second round. To founders who are looking at your inspirational journey, what would you tell them, the 1 or 2 things that they should do and not do?
I think in the start of the journey, one should be in detail. One should be definitely in detail. You cannot be hands-off. Cannot be hands-off. And then transformation has to be give the space for others where you have built those confidence. And build institution means it should not be people dependent. So like it's a transformation. But full of himself, I don't know any stage in entrepreneur's life it exists.
Okay, one more point that comes to mind here. A founder comes with a certain passion, a desire, a burning desire to achieve. He gets lucky if he gets money at the right time in the right flow, because flow of money is also extremely important, as we know in business. And we know of celebrated cases, I will not take names, where founders, when their companies grew, had to bring on very experienced people. And then they could not manage. They could not let go. They could not allow that more experienced person to build that business along proper lines. and clashes have happened. There are celebrated cases. Without taking names, explain this phenomenon to us, and how do you deal with it, Sujeet? Do you have people who are far more experienced than you, who have more age than you, perhaps more wealth than you in some ways, who you interact with and employ and allow them to grow your company?
I think that's a very, very important aspect. If you'll see, that's how you define how big a company you can build. If you wanted to go, it has to be professional driven, meritocracy. The best should serve that goal rather than मैं बोलूंगा और तुम करोगे. I think then you are limiting yourself. Then you will be small or medium somewhere, or might be, according to me, that's not the sustainable model. That's the real challenge for entrepreneur. How you transform with the time. If your vision is big, this thing has to happen. You can't grow without that.
I think that's a very important point. Not just does a startup have to grow physically as a business, the founder also has to grow as a person, as a human being at the emotional level, what is called the emotional quotient. Final couple of questions. We spoke about success. I want to ask you, what does failure mean to you?
Lots of learning.
Lots of learning. Okay. And that very final question, when you look back at your journey, interesting journey, lots of good things, not so good things as well, and that is life. What's been that one magic moment that you would recall at this stage and leave our viewers with that thought?
I think there are several magic, but I must say that in the career start or the very early days, I came on board with the Flipkart. I think that was my magic moment. I think that's how I see. I think that was a very crucial decision because I was in love with Delhi, never wanted to leave Delhi. And for me, that was the big decision. I left Delhi, came to Bangalore, met Sachin Binny and came on board with Flipkart. I think that was the magic moment.
Well, wishing you many more such magic moments on your Udaan, on your personal as well as professional business journey. Sujeet, I have enjoyed this conversation and I hope you and our viewers have enjoyed it equally. With that, I'm going to leave you here on this episode of Mind Rocks. If you've been, thank you very much for watching.